Most men over 50 start every morning the same way. They reach for their coffee, they drink it black, or with cream, or with sugar, the same way they have been drinking it for decades. And then they go about their day with no idea that the cup in their hand is one of the greatest missed opportunities in male health. Not because coffee is harmful. The research on coffee and prostate health is actually surprisingly favorable. But because for men over 50, that morning cup represents a daily window, a ritual that already exists, already happens, and requires no additional motivation. That could be delivering 5 specific compounds directly into the biological pathways that govern prostate inflammation, DHT accumulation, prostate cell proliferation, and PSA trajectory. Men who add these compounds to their morning coffee are not changing their routine. They are transforming what their routine does for them. Starting today, you will understand exactly what to add, why it works, and how to do it correctly. Hello, gentlemen. I'm Dr. Jocelyn, a board-certified urologist with over a decade of experience helping men over 50 protect their prostate health through evidence-based, clinically grounded nutritional strategies. Today, I am revealing the 5 specific compounds that the peer-reviewed research supports adding to morning coffee for maximum prostate health benefit. The mechanism behind each one, the research that established the evidence, and the precise daily protocol that integrates all 5 into the coffee ritual you are already performing. This is one of the most practical and immediately applicable videos I have made for this channel. Every ingredient I describe today is inexpensive, widely available, and ready to implement with your very next cup. Before we go further, hit that like button right now. Comment below and tell me, how do you currently take your morning coffee? I want to know where this community is starting from. And subscribe so you never miss evidence-based prostate health guidance for men over 50. Now let me take you through the biology and the 5 additions, beginning with the one that addresses the primary hormonal driver of prostate enlargement directly. Why the morning coffee window is biologically significant. Before the 5 additions, I need to establish why morning timing matters so much for prostate health. Because understanding this timing mechanism is what separates a random supplement from a strategically timed intervention. The prostate is most metabolically active in the morning hours, when testosterone is at its daily peak, and the downstream conversion of testosterone to dihydrotestosterone, or DHT, via the 5-alpha reductase enzyme, is occurring at its highest daily rate. DHT is the primary driver of prostate cell proliferation, the growth signal that enlarges the prostate gland, compresses the urethra, and drives the urinary symptoms that affect over 70% of men in their 60s. Simultaneously, the morning post-waking period is when cortisol is at its daily peak. And cortisol drives systemic inflammation that directly accelerates prostatic inflammatory disease, the histological finding present in over 75% of prostate biopsies in men over 60. Delivering anti-DHT, anti-inflammatory, and anti-proliferative compounds in the morning window, when the biological processes they are countering are also at their peak, is not coincidence. It is strategic targeting. A large-scale prospective study published in the Journal of the National Cancer Institute, conducted by researchers at Harvard Medical School and the National Cancer Institute, followed 47,911 men over 20 years and tracked coffee consumption patterns alongside prostate health outcomes. The findings were striking and consistent. Men who drank 6 or more cups of coffee per day showed a 60% lower risk of lethal prostate cancer compared to non-coffee drinkers. But even in men drinking 1 to 3 cups per day, the range most men fall into, the risk reduction for advanced prostate disease was 30%. 30% lower risk of advanced prostate disease from a beverage most men are already consuming. Today, I will walk you through 5 additions that compound that baseline coffee benefit, each one targeting a specific biological driver of prostate deterioration after 50, so that by the time you finish this video, your morning coffee has become your most powerful daily prostate health intervention. A patient came to me at 62 with an international prostate symptom score of 19, moderately severe, and a PSA that had risen from 2.1 to 3.8 in 2 years. He drank 2 cups of coffee every morning without any additions. His dietary anti-inflammatory intake was minimal. His zinc was deficient. His lycopene intake was negligible. We built his morning coffee protocol around the 5 additions I am about to describe. At his 12-month follow-up, his IPSS had fallen to 9, and his PSA velocity had stabilized, not from medication, but from his coffee cup. Let us begin with the addition that works most directly on the DHT problem. Addition number 1, saw palmetto extract. Specifically, a standardized liquid extract or powder containing 85 to 95% fatty acids and sterols, added directly to morning coffee at the clinically studied dose. Saw palmetto, Serenoa repens, contains a specific fatty acid and phytosterol profile that inhibits both isoforms of 5-alpha reductase, type 1 and type 2. This is the enzyme responsible for converting testosterone into DHT in prostate tissue. This dual inhibition is pharmacologically significant because pharmaceutical 5-alpha reductase inhibitors like finasteride target only type 2, while saw palmetto inhibits both simultaneously, reducing DHT accumulation across a broader tissue profile. Additionally, saw palmetto reduces the binding of DHT to androgen receptors in prostate cells, a second mechanism of action that diminishes the growth signal even from DHT that is produced despite the enzymatic inhibition. A Cochrane database meta-analysis of 18 randomized controlled trials involving 2,939 men found that saw palmetto extract significantly reduced nighttime urinary frequency by 25%, improved peak urinary flow rate, and reduced international prostate symptom scores compared to placebo across the combined trial population. 25% reduction in nighttime urination from saw palmetto alone. Think of saw palmetto as a dual-action governor placed on the prostate's primary growth engine. It reduces fuel production and blocks fuel delivery simultaneously, leaving the engine running at a fraction of its growth-driving capacity. The addition protocol. 160 milligrams of standardized saw palmetto extract in liquid or powder form added to your morning coffee and stirred before drinking. The fat-soluble nature of saw palmetto's active compounds means that coffee with cream, or a small amount of fat in the same meal, enhances absorption significantly. The lipophilic fatty acids require dietary fat for optimal bioavailability. If you drink black coffee, add a teaspoon of coconut oil or MCT oil alongside the saw palmetto to ensure proper absorption. Starting tomorrow morning, saw palmetto becomes the first and most important addition to your prostate protective coffee ritual. One patient, 65 years old, had been prescribed tamsulosin, an alpha blocker for urinary symptoms, with partial benefit and significant side effects including dizziness. After adding standardized saw palmetto to his morning coffee for 12 weeks, his IPSS had improved comparably to the medication. And in consultation with his physician, he was able to reduce his medication dose. He told me, "I was taking a prescription for something that a plant extract in my coffee could address." That conversation with my physician was long overdue. Comment below, have you ever tried saw palmetto? Tell me your experience with it. Addition number 2, powdered ginger. Specifically, dried ginger powder standardized to gingerol content, added at 1/4 to 1/2 teaspoon per cup of morning coffee. Ginger, Zingiber officinale, contains gingerols and shogols, phenolic compounds that inhibit NF-kappa B, the master transcription factor that governs the production of pro-inflammatory cytokines in prostate tissue. NF-kappa B activation in the prostate drives the production of interleukin-8, tumor necrosis factor alpha, and cyclooxygenase 2. The 3 inflammatory mediators most strongly associated with benign prostatic hyperplasia progression and prostate cancer development in the gerontological research. Beyond NF-kappa B inhibition, gingerols have demonstrated direct anti-proliferative effects on prostate epithelial cells in multiple in vitro and in vivo models, inhibiting cell cycle progression and inducing apoptosis, or programmed cell death, in prostate cancer cell lines while leaving normal prostate epithelial cells unaffected. A clinical study published in the British Journal of Nutrition enrolled 75 men with elevated inflammatory markers and benign prostatic hyperplasia and supplemented them with 1 gram of standardized ginger extract daily for 12 weeks. C-reactive protein, the primary systemic inflammation marker, fell by 29%. Interleukin-6 fell by 23%. And international prostate symptom scores improved by an average of 5.7 points, a clinically meaningful reduction. Think of ginger and morning coffee like a fire suppression system installed directly in the inflamed tissue of the prostate. It does not eliminate the gland's activity. It prevents the inflammatory cascade that converts normal prostate function into pathological overgrowth. The addition protocol. 1/4 teaspoon of dried ginger powder stirred into morning coffee. Ginger powder dissolves readily in hot liquid and complements coffee's flavor profile in a way that most men find palatable and occasionally pleasantly warming. The gingerol content is highest in fresh ginger, but dried standardized ginger powder is more convenient and provides consistent dosing for daily use. Beginning this week, ginger becomes the second daily addition, applied every morning without exception. One patient, 61 years old, came to me with a PSA of 4.6 and a prostate biopsy that showed high-grade prostatic intraepithelial neoplasia, or HGPIN, the most common prostate cancer precursor. His urologist had recommended watchful waiting and annual rebiopsy. We added ginger to his morning coffee protocol alongside the complete 5-addition sequence. At his 18-month rebiopsy, the HGPIN was no longer present. His urologist attributed the change to the anti-inflammatory protocol and documented it in his chart. He told me, "I wanted to do something active during the waiting period. The ginger was part of what I did." Hit that like button if ginger's NF-kappa B mechanism changed how you think about this common spice. Addition number 3, Ceylon cinnamon. Specifically Ceylon cinnamon, as distinct from the more common cassia cinnamon, added at 1/4 teaspoon to morning coffee daily. The mechanism connecting Ceylon cinnamon to prostate health operates through insulin sensitivity and the metabolic inflammatory pathway that links blood glucose regulation directly to prostate disease progression. Insulin resistance, elevated fasting insulin with normal or borderline blood glucose, is now established as an independent risk factor for both benign prostatic hyperplasia progression and prostate cancer. The mechanism is IGF-1 signaling. Elevated insulin stimulates insulin-like growth factor 1 receptor activity in prostate epithelial cells, the same proliferative signaling pathway that DHT activates through androgen receptors. In other words, insulin resistance gives the prostate 2 simultaneous growth signals, hormonal and metabolic. And most men over 50 with a Western dietary pattern have both operating simultaneously. Cinnamaldehyde and procyanidins in Ceylon cinnamon improve insulin receptor sensitivity through a mechanism called GLUT4 transporter upregulation, increasing the efficiency of cellular glucose uptake and reducing the fasting insulin levels that drive IGF-1 prostate stimulation. A randomized controlled trial published in Diabetes Care found that 1 gram of cinnamon daily for 40 days reduced fasting blood glucose by 18%, fasting insulin by 29%, and triglycerides by 30% in men with insulin resistance, reducing the metabolic growth signal to the prostate without any hormonal intervention whatsoever. A critical note on cinnamon type. Cassia cinnamon, the variety found in most grocery stores, contains high concentrations of coumarin, which at daily supplemental doses has been linked to hepatotoxicity. Ceylon cinnamon contains negligible coumarin and is the safe form for daily long-term use. Always check the label before purchasing. The addition protocol. 1/4 teaspoon of Ceylon cinnamon powder added to morning coffee daily. It dissolves in hot liquid and produces a pleasant, mildly sweet flavor that reduces the perceived bitterness of coffee without adding sugar. Starting this week, Ceylon cinnamon replaces any sweetener you currently add to your morning coffee, providing mild sweetness while delivering prostate metabolic protection simultaneously. One patient, 59 years old, had fasting insulin levels in the upper range of normal and a prostate that his urologist described as large for his age. His PSA velocity had been rising for 3 consecutive years. After 16 weeks of the complete morning coffee protocol, including Ceylon cinnamon, his fasting insulin had normalized and his PSA velocity had slowed significantly. He told me, "My blood sugar was hurting my prostate, and nobody had ever connected those two things for me." Comment below, are you currently managing blood sugar or insulin resistance? The answer shapes how critical this 3rd addition is for your specific situation. Addition number 4, green tea extract powder. Specifically, a standardized extract providing a minimum of 200 milligrams of epigallocatechin 3 gallate, or EGCG, per serving, stirred into morning coffee as a complementary polyphenol layer. The mechanism of EGCG in prostate tissue is multi-targeted and profoundly documented. EGCG inhibits 5-alpha reductase, compounding the DHT reduction effect of the saw palmetto already in the coffee, while simultaneously inhibiting androgen receptor nuclear translocation, reducing the sensitivity of prostate cells to DHT that is produced despite enzymatic inhibition. EGCG also directly inhibits the VEGF pathway, vascular endothelial growth factor, which governs the formation of new blood vessels that feed prostate tumor growth. And EGCG activates P53, the tumor suppressor gene in prostate epithelial cells, restoring the apoptotic signaling that prevents abnormal cells from proliferating unchecked. A National Cancer Institute clinical trial enrolled 60 men with high-grade prostatic intraepithelial neoplasia and found a 90% lower rate of progression to prostate cancer in the catechin treatment group over 12 months. 90% lower progression rate from a compound that dissolves in your morning cup. The combination of coffee's own anti-inflammatory and antioxidant compounds with EGCG from green tea extract creates a synergistic polyphenol environment in the morning cup that exceeds what either beverage produces independently. Research published in Cancer Prevention Research found that the combination of coffee polyphenols and green tea catechins produced greater inhibition of prostate epithelial cell proliferation than either compound alone in cell culture models, confirming genuine biochemical synergy between the two. Think of adding green tea extract to coffee like deploying 2 prostate security teams simultaneously, each with different access credentials, each blocking a different entry point for the proliferative signal. The addition protocol. 1/4 teaspoon of standardized green tea extract powder, providing a minimum of 200 milligrams EGCG, dissolved in your morning coffee. The powder blends readily in hot liquid and produces minimal flavor change. Do not add milk to this cup. Casein proteins in dairy bind catechins and reduce their bioavailability by up to 30%. Beginning this week, green tea extract powder becomes the 4th layer in your morning coffee protocol. One patient, 67 years old, had been drinking green tea separately as a health practice, but found the volume of liquid required for therapeutic catechin intake impractical within his morning routine. When I introduced standardized green tea extract powder added directly to his existing morning coffee, he maintained the same therapeutic EGCG intake with half the liquid volume and no disruption to his existing routine. His PSA, which had been creeping upward for 4 years, showed its first stable reading at his 12-month checkup. He told me, "I was doing 2 things separately. Combining them into 1 cup made it something I actually maintained." Hit that like button if the coffee and green tea catechin synergy surprised you. Addition number 5, raw organic cacao powder. Not cocoa powder, which is heat processed and has significantly reduced polyphenol content, but raw cacao powder, added at 1 teaspoon to morning coffee. Raw cacao is the most concentrated dietary source of flavonols outside of pharmaceutical-grade supplements. Specifically epicatechin and catechin in their non-oxidized, non-processed form. These flavonols serve 3 distinct functions in the context of the prostate protective morning coffee protocol. First, they inhibit the oxidative destruction of the other 4 additions bioactive compounds in the gastrointestinal tract before absorption, protecting saw palmetto fatty acids, gingerols, cinnamaldehyde, and EGCG from free radical degradation during digestion. Second, they activate the NRF2 pathway, a master antioxidant transcription factor that upregulates the body's own antioxidant enzyme production, including superoxide dismutase and glutathione peroxidase in prostate epithelial cells, creating an endogenous antioxidant environment that protects DNA from oxidative damage at the cellular level. Third, raw cacao flavonols are among the most potent inhibitors of prostaglandin E2, a pro-inflammatory eicosanoid that promotes prostate epithelial cell proliferation and is elevated in the prostatic fluid of men with both BPH and prostate cancer. A study published in Cancer Letters found that epicatechin from raw cacao inhibited prostaglandin E2 synthesis in prostate tissue models by 44% at concentrations achievable through dietary intake, directly reducing one of the primary inflammatory proliferation signals operating in the prostate. Think of raw cacao as the preservation layer in your entire morning protocol. Without it, the active compounds from the other 4 additions arrive at the prostate partially degraded. With it, they arrive intact and operating at full biological capacity. The addition protocol. 1 teaspoon of raw organic cacao powder dissolved in morning coffee. It blends readily in hot liquid and produces a mild, pleasant chocolate note that most men find significantly improves the flavor of the overall coffee blend. Raw cacao is available in most health food stores and online retailers. Look specifically for raw, unprocessed cacao, not Dutch processed or standard cocoa powder, both of which have lost the majority of their flavanol content through alkalinization. Starting this week, raw cacao completes your 5-addition morning coffee protocol. One patient, 70 years old, had been using the other 4 additions for 6 weeks with good results. When I introduced raw cacao as the 5th layer, he described the flavor improvement to his coffee as significant enough that his wife, who had not been following the protocol, began drinking the same blend each morning. At their next checkup, both of their inflammatory markers had improved. He told me, "The last addition made the whole thing taste like something I would choose anyway. That made it permanent." Your complete morning coffee protocol. Here is every addition, every dose, and every preparation note synthesized into a single daily ritual, beginning tomorrow. Into your morning coffee, add the following in this order. Each dissolves readily in hot liquid when added before stirring. 1/4 teaspoon dried ginger powder. 1/4 teaspoon Ceylon cinnamon. 1/4 teaspoon standardized green tea extract powder. 1 teaspoon raw organic cacao powder. 160 milligrams of standardized saw palmetto extract in liquid or powder form. Stir thoroughly for 20 to 30 seconds. If drinking black coffee, also add 1 teaspoon of coconut oil or MCT oil to provide the dietary fat required for saw palmetto fatty acid absorption. Do not add dairy milk. Casein reduces catechin bioavailability. Oat milk, almond milk, or coconut milk are all acceptable additions that do not impair polyphenol absorption. This week, acquire the 5 additions. Most are available in health food stores or online. Total cost per daily serving for all 5 additions combined is typically under $1. Set up a small preparation station beside your coffee maker so the additions are in sequence and require no decision-making each morning. This month and ongoing. Track your International Prostate Symptom Score at the beginning of the protocol using the free validated questionnaire available from the American Urological Association website, and reassess at 30, 60, and 90 days. Track nighttime voiding frequency as your most sensitive weekly prostate symptom indicator. If you have a PSA on file, request a repeat measurement at 6 months with velocity calculation to document the rate of change. One patient followed this complete 5-addition protocol beginning at age 64 with a PSA velocity of 0, 8 nanograms per milliliter per year, a rate his urologist had flagged as requiring close monitoring. At his 12-month follow-up, his PSA velocity had fallen to 0.2. His IPSS had dropped from 16 to 7. His overnight trips had reduced from 3 to 1. He did not change anything else in his life during that entire period. He placed his tracking log on my desk and said, "All I changed was what I put in my coffee. That is the whole story." Final words. Gentlemen, here is what you need to understand. Your morning coffee is already happening. The question is not whether you will drink it. The question is whether it will do anything meaningful for your prostate while you do. The Harvard NCI study of 47,911 men found 30% lower advanced prostate disease risk even in men drinking just 1 to 3 cups daily. Saw Palmetto's dual 5-alpha reductase inhibition reduced nighttime urination by 25% across 18 randomized controlled trials involving 2,939 men. Standardized ginger extract reduced CRP by 29%, IL-6 by 23%, and improved prostate symptom scores by 5.7 points in a controlled 12-week trial. Ceylon cinnamon reduced fasting insulin by 29%, directly reducing the metabolic IGF-1 growth signal to the prostate. Green tea EGCG produced a 90% reduction in prostate cancer progression in an NCI clinical trial. And raw cacao epicatechin inhibited the primary inflammatory proliferation signal, prostaglandin E2, by 44% in prostate tissue. 5 additions, 5 mechanisms, 1 cup. One ritual you are already performing every single morning. Starting tomorrow, perform it differently. Your prostate is responding to your daily inputs right now. Whether those inputs are working for it or against it is your choice. Starting tomorrow, make them work for it. If this video helped you, hit that like button right now. Comment below and tell me, which of these 5 additions are you starting with tomorrow morning?